Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the fans just haven't asked for it, they have demanded it.
This August, we're headed back to Tampa for WrestleHouse 2.
WrestleMania weekend, we brought you Sinister Minister James Mitchell, TJP, Demolition Smash, Al Snow, Dutch Mantel Zeb Coulter, JTG of Primetime, and WWE Hall of Famer Gerald Briscoe for in-depth interviews and live interactive cyber autograph signings.
And if you want our Wednesday Night Wrestling Insider Special Edition episodes to continue, we need your help to bring these superstars' careers and lives to life.
Bringing you free content 7 days each week is an expensive proposition. Between appearance fees, air travel, renting the house, the equipment, and everything that goes in to a week of shooting, we can't do it without you.
As we prepare to return to producing live in-ring events, help us bring you the superstars and legends of yesterday and tomorrow by visiting Indiegogo now and check out some of the great rewards.
Wrestling fans, it's going to be a wild week in Tampa the first week in August. Get ready for WrestleHouse 2.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, happy birthday, America. It is Dan Marty here with your humble host, the first, the former, Boston Wrestling, Millennium Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion, Mr. Tiger Mulligan. We don't take holidays off here in this organization. Tiger, it is a pleasure to have you with us once again this week as we continue to bring the fans Wrestling Insiders, stern but fair.
Because I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. Well, happy 4th of July, my friend. How are you this fine week?
I am not so good. It was an interesting week of announcements as we saw WrestleHouse 2 is coming to Tampa next month. We have the big 20th anniversary extravaganza with some names starting to crack through the leaks. Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts. But I am still in an uproar that these imbeciles continue to pester and bother me. I don't know if you heard about it, but more zeros trying to capitalize on the Marty Jannetty situation. They put out I guess what you'd call a clickbait piece on us because really? I wouldn't release the Marty Jannetty footage to them to use for themselves. They claimed Marty, who was upset about it, they claimed, no, we just wanted to watch it, Marty. We weren't going to use it. So they had an edited video of Marty where Marty, it almost looked like one of those, what do you call them, movies with the handheld camera, a found footage movie where Marty was in some kind of a car or an automobile where he did a Zoom call with them. It was pathetic. They were pathetic. They had their sunglasses on at night as the 80s song would go. But you know what? When you fire the salvo at me, it's always going to be returned. I was not in the mood spending my 4th of July weekend here at this studio to watch this video and listen to these two imbeciles that I've never met be the experts on me, my life, and how we tend to do things here in Boston Wrestling. So I fired back hot and heavy, responding to every accusation thrown my way. It is available now on the Boston Wrestling YouTube channel, absolutely free. If you don't care about such nonsense and you care about the king of sports, well, ignore the video and continue to listen to this one.
Well, I've been partying all weekend pretty hard.
Yeah,
I took a quick break to come and enjoy this fine podcast with yourself. But tell me, who are these two J-Brones that are causing trouble?
Not even worth naming.
Really?
Why give them the publicity?
You're right, 100%. I feel bad, but
because I don't want to step over you, but here's what irritated me the most. Back in the, I don't know when it was, or sometime over the winter or early spring when we had the issue with Tony, when that fool thought he was going to become a millionaire because he bought his $200 Chromebook at Walmart and thought he was going to do cyber sightings on his own and drawings on his own and blah, 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 blah. And then, I was angry. Tony took money for drawings. Tony took money for that November 13th event. Tony took money for podcasts. And then he just, I guess, felt entitled to keep it. I don't know. And, I said what I said when he decided to skip one of the Tuesday episodes of the show because I felt the loyal fans that have been loyal to Tony and supported him through his art and his autographs and through just watching the show in general and using the super chat deserve to know the truth. Well, then I don't think it was Tony, but someone using Tony's Facebook account put up that nonsense saying that, for 4 years he was coming up here and he was only walking away with $55 an appearance. Now, I mean, come on. Come on. That's a WWE Hall of Famer. I mean, nothing against your reign as MWF Heavyweight Champion, but I don't know how many $55 trips you have even made. Never mind someone of his stature.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't get out of bed for $55, let alone go do some kind of podcast show or do whatever. He is on a different level than I am, and I can guarantee that he's not getting out of bed for $55. So, yeah, that's a bunch of BS, and it's crazy.
Exactly. So these two frickin' frack thought, oh, geez, let's try and capitalize off of someone else's work instead of coming up with something creative on our own. So they had Tony down, and I warned Tony that if Tony continued to put false information out there, he was not going to like my response. He was not going to like my response at all. So when Tony appeared with these people, wherever they do their show, he was fine, I guess is the best way to put it. And then they saw what happened with Marty's drunken tirade here during the Hell in the Cell, or the Hell in the Studio watch-along, as I like to call it. And they figured they'd capitalize on that, too, by doing a Zoom call with Marty. And Marty, like I said, I thought Marty was very slick in how he put them in their place by saying, why did you want the footage of me drunk to air on your show so bad? And they said, oh, no. We just wanted to review it. We just wanted to review it, so we knew what happened.
Yeah, but even for that,
cough,
why
cough.
would they want to review it? Yeah, why would they even want to just review it? I mean, it's not something that people, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a car crash where people have to, they can't not look away. But at the same time, like, why are you going to try to capitalize on something like that? It's not worth putting out there.
Well, here's why, I don't know these two people. They could be fine human beings for all I know. I don't know. But they come off sleazy to me because this is the thing. In this episode, Marty talks about, and I didn't even know this, as I believe you know, Marty, when he's here, he comes for 3 days. Yeah. On the Saturday night, he was in pain, and he should. He's had 2 major reconstructive ankle surgeries this year, which is why I can sympathize and empathize with him as a human being with what he's going through and his need to try and medicate and not be in pain 24/7. I'm in pain 24/7 from my CRPS, so I resonate with him on that level, which is probably the only reason why we haven't parted ways. But so Marty on this program says, well, she came by and, she brought some sort of substance which led Marty to lose 16 hours of memory from his life.
Really?
On top of that, Marty said he overpushed his workouts in the hotel gym, which he shouldn't even be working out, I don't think, at this point. After having another major reconstructive ankle surgery, he's down there doing the elliptical and riding the bicycle. So, I mean, between the workouts, between the actual surgery itself, between this woman that brought whatever it was she brought to the room, and then he admitted on the Sunday, before we went live, he took more pills and drank more. And they're going to give him credence and say that me or Boston Wrestling took advantage of the man? Come on. That's just a hit piece on me. And you know what I say to them? I give them the Steve Austin middle fingers. Please.
Yeah, I agree.
Wear your sunglasses at night, brother. Come up with something creative on your own.
Yeah, it's too bad that, again, people got to try to capitalize and, like you said, clickbait it and try to get over on you. It's not going to work out good for them. The truth, whatever you have to say about it, eventually will probably come out, in the wash if need be. Marty, he's a grown man. He needs to start getting his life together. I agree with you. He's probably in pain. He's probably got a lot going on, but at the same time, he needs to learn that the word no is okay to say to people if they're offering you whatever it is they're offering you. That's all alleged. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well, this came from his own mouth on their
Sure.
interview. And what I also got a kick out of, at some point, I couldn't tell you at what point in the interview, but obviously it was edited where they cut something out of it. And, I sent it to Marty last night, and he was pretty annoyed by it, too, that, I'd say 95% of the communications between him and I have been very positive since he got his phone back, since he's been home. He's calmed down now. He doesn't have access to such things, and he's the Marty that we know and love right now. So I'd like to keep it that way. But the fact that these two stiffs, again, just trying to capitalize off it and try and I don't know if it's to try and draw more attention to their program or try and cause trouble between Marty and I, but I just don't see the need for it. Just like I didn't see the need for them to try and involve themselves in the Tony Atlas story. But I guess it is what it is.
Everybody's trying to make a quick buck, and unfortunately, these two are trying to make it at your expense, and they're just not going to do it.
Well,
so,
and normally I wouldn't even care because, I'm here 7 days a week, 9 to 10 hours a day. I don't have time to care about things so trivial. But when someone texted me a screenshot of the YouTube video, and it said that, almost like the National Enquirer, I said, you know what? I'm going to watch this one. And I did. And I took meticulous notes, and my response was even more meticulous as I went blow by blow through everything that they said and everything that Marty said. Again, available on YouTube. But we got a lot of professional wrestling to talk about here in the King of Sports yet again this week on this holiday week, as you come from still fresh off that trip to the jungle down there. The little camping trip.
Yeah, that's kind of over and done with. That was last week.
Yeah.
This week, different story. I was back to work. I was back to doing my normal thing. I was able to watch a bunch of stuff this week. But before we get into all that, it's the 4th of July. I was setting off fireworks last week. I was partaking in a few adult beverages, and as I look on the internet now, there's a lot that happens on the 4th of July in the world of professional wrestling. No,
there are some sad anniversaries, if that's what you're talking about.
There are plenty of sad ones, but there are plenty of non-sad ones too. I mean,
oh really?
31 years ago today, did you know that Chris Adams defeated Rick Rude to win the World Class Championship? Did you know that? I didn't know that.
I would say that would be an error.
Why would that be an error? I'm reading it. It's the internet.
Because Rick Rude was getting ready to face the Ultimate Warrior at SummerSlam 31 years ago today for the WWF World Championship.
31, really?
Yes.
The World Championship. That's so okay. So I guess my internet is wrong. So then is it not good to say that 30? I guess so. I guess it wasn't 30 years ago, or maybe it was just 4th of July. Was the Great American Bash developed on the 4th of July with the War Games in '87?
Potentially, yes, because that was a tour at that point. So I could see that as something that would have happened without having Google in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, so now I don't feel so stupid, but I don't know if the years are correct because it's saying 30 years, but that's 87 wasn't 30 years ago, was it?
It was the math is incorrect. Either that or it's an old website. I don't know. One or the other.
Yeah. So but I have to say that the Great American Bash definitely happened on 4th of July. I'm thinking that the unfortunate accident with adorable Adrian Adonis happened on 4th of July.
That was 88. Yep.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. We lost him. The accident with your good old buddy Ed Leslie Brutus, the fucking barber beefcake, suffered his serious facial injury on the 4th of July in Florida. There
was some fireworks going off of a different kind for poor Brutus in 1990, unfortunately. It cost him what was probably going to be a big Intercontinental Championship win at SummerSlam 90. SummerSlam 90, yeah.
You really think they were going to give it to him? Or was that
I gave it to Kerry Von Erich with 1 foot. I mean...
Oh, my
Well, let's call a spade a spade.
I understand that, but geez, kayfabe a little bit, no? Oh, man, that's funny.
They talk about a guy that, there was some excitement to see come to WWF that offered absolutely nothing once the bell rang at that point in his career. It was sad to see.
Wow. Yeah, it was pretty sad. I mean, even his promos, I've been watching some of those old superstars that they just put up on the the old Peacock WWE network, and his promos, holy moly, it seems like he's more messed up than Marty Jannetty.
You know what I found interesting, since it's kind of come up now, and it was a topic on one of the episodes we taped with Marty as we're chronicling WWF the year 1990, but either the day after SummerSlam or 2 days after it, that set of TV tapings, they had Kerry lose the championship to Mr. Perfect in a rematch. It never aired. I guess they just taped it because they were so worried that Kerry was going to fall apart that they wanted to have something on tape with him losing that title. And I guess, I don't know, they must have done something later in the night that said, you know, President Jack Tunney overturned this decision or whatever it may have been. But I just thought that showed right there that a guy that was in the company for about a month at that point, they had such little confidence in that they taped him losing the title 2 days after he won it.
Yeah, I mean,
why give it to him?
Can you imagine if that guy was just able to hold things together, the heights he could have gotten to? I truly feel that he could have been the leader of one of the big feds, whether it be WWF or WCW, NWA at the time. He really could have done great things because he had such a charisma about him and he had such a presence about him where he could have really been the top guy. But, man, it's just unfortunate because he just couldn't get out of his own way.
I was never a Von Erich fan, any of them.
Really?
No, I get tired of them. They were so overpushed, and I just...
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're talking about, you know, down for Texas and working for their dad, you know, of course they're going to push those guys because they know they're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So kind of keep the belts, you know, at home, and you know that you know what you're going to get with them. But
that's for sure.
Yeah, but you know, it's again, I don't know if I was a huge fan of these guys, but you know, I was a fan of Kerry Von Erich. I thought he had a great look. I thought he just had a presence. To me, he was like Hogan-esque in a sense of when I looked at him, I felt like he just had that it factor. But again, watching it back now and seeing some of those promos, man, it just looked like he had just woken up from a soma-induced coma and went out in front of a camera to cut a promo. It just was pretty bad.
Well, he really would have had a rough go of it if he was like his brother and wrestled without shoes. I don't know how he would have come back after that injury at that point.
Instead of the modern day Warrior, it would be the modern day Peg Leg or something like that.
Well, I don't think they would have got Foot Locker as a sponsor, but anyway.
Oh my God!
And you know, and every you want to know why? Today. Now that they're finally gone, I can say my true story. I was so pissed off. We have these two cleaners that come in on Monday mornings, and as you know, today is Sunday. But and this makes no sense to me. Today is July 4th. Am I correct?
But we observe it tomorrow. I'm off of work tomorrow too.
So you're working today?
No, I'm not working today.
Well, these two decided.
I'm normally off Sundays.
These two stiffs decided to come in and clean on Sunday morning, July the 4th, so they didn't have to do it on Monday morning, July 5th. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't know why, you know, it's recognized on maybe it's more of like a travel day or something like that, I guess they call it. Well, I don't know.
Where it was at their discretion, if it was me, I would have taken today. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just my opinion.
I don't disagree. Hey, listen, I value your opinion. I think your opinion is correct. Some of the things the world does, I don't agree with either. But hey, I think it's hilarious that you're calling cleaning ladies stiffs, and we'll just leave it at that.
And then you had David Von Erich. I mean, he looked like everyone's. Oh, David Von Erich would have been the next NWA champion. And you know what? Where I wasn't a fan at that time. I can't speak to specifics, but from just the visual of him, he looks like a guy that would be teaming up with Mario Mancini on Superstars to put over the Rougeaus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you had Kevin and Kerry who looked, you know, the part. You know, they had great bodies. David, to me, I don't know, like I never really watched any of his stuff going back in any single stuff. I know he was pretty big over in Japan, but he just looked doughy to me. He didn't look like a top star guy, mid-level. You know, mid-card guy that could help get other guys over, but I don't know.
And again, he may have been a fantastic talent. I don't know. I've seen next to nothing of him. And then they had that brother Mike that he looked like a Halloween decoration.
Yeah, I mean,
there was nothing there with him. And then they had that little one. I don't know if he was a dwarf, but slightly taller, I guess.
What was his name? Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was super short. but still throwing drop kicks like better than a lot of the other guys
He
out
almost
there.
looked kind of like that, but Chunky from the Goonies.
Oh my!
And they are the Von Erich family.
Who was the distant cousin? Lance Von Erich.
Lance was probably, well, you know what? I thought he probably had the best look of them all.
Yeah,
but he had no talent whatsoever.
Yeah, he couldn't work.
And then they had the Warrior come in when Kerry lost his foot, and he had no talent at that point. They brought in Mr.
Dingo Warrior, right?
Yeah, they had Mr. USA. They brought him in, and then once they realized, wait a minute, he's got a better physique than Kerry. Once Kerry was a little more mobile, it was bye-bye Mr. USA.
Now, when did Kerry lose his foot, and how long was he out for?
I'm going to say 87, 88-ish, because that's when Tony was down there. And Tony said once Kerry was ready to come back and his physique was, more as impressive or more impressive, that was when Brody was told, when Brody was booking, was told to weed Tony out.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Well,
never a Von Erichs fan.
How about Mr. Lex Luger on this day slamming Yokozuna on the Intrepid?
I remember being extremely angry that it wasn't on television. I didn't know Raw was preempted that night. I thought that's what Raw was that night. And instead, I don't know if it was a rerun of Murder, She Wrote or Silk Stockings or one of those shows that they used to run before or after Raw.
Silk Stockings, that was after Raw, no?
Yes, Silk Stockings was the more risque. Yeah. Angela Lansbury never made an appearance on Silk Stockings that I remember, but that might have been for the best. But I was very upset that there was no Raw on the 4th, or maybe it was even tennis, or I don't know what it was, but it wasn't the USS Intrepid, and I was pretty angry that night.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm actually surprised that they put so much effort and energy into something that they only showed clips of afterwards.
So it must have been pretty bad.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you could still watch it now. I think it's on the network. The whole thing is on the network, isn't it?
I don't know if you
sworn I remember watching it recently just because I wanted to see it over again, and I just remember it being super bad, super bad.
We're the same age. Did you get the impression that was going to be on TV that night?
I did. Yes, 100%.
I remember I was literally angry. I didn't understand why some other show was on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember how I reacted to it not being on, but I know how I reacted to it afterwards, kind of scratching my head as to why all of a sudden Lex Luger is a babyface and driving around on a bus,
and arrived in a helicopter. Yeah,
it is what it is. I feel bad for Lex Luger because I know that over the past few years he's been going through a lot with his stuff, but I don't understand why they would put so much effort and energy that entire summer for him to cross the entire United States in a bus and all the money they spent on it, and for him to not ever grab that brass ring. I don't know. It just was very odd.
I disagree a little bit because I thought it was actually good booking. He still got the win at SummerSlam, and it made you'd think in theory, really want to see the big payoff at WrestleMania, but then Royal Rumble happened.
No payoff at WrestleMania.
Well, no, that was the original plan. And then they saw the reaction that they got, because I was there for that one. That was the first non-Boston Garden WWF event I ever attended. The crowd was about 95% Bret Hart and 5% Luger, and they said, Gotham, we have a problem. So they had to kind of reshuffle the booking at that point. And no, I don't think he was ever over to that point.
No, I don't think so either. But at the same time, I don't know.
He wasn't even a hot heel. I thought he was very boring as the narcissist.
Yeah, I just think that he's just that type of guy where I think he thought he was better and more over than he was. And then that made him a little bit bitter, more so or less. And I know that he's just not a people person where he's not going to be that over-the-top babyface like a Hogan was, to where he's going to be out and about, kissing babies and shaking hands and things like that. So I don't know.
Well, it was a company that was in panic mode all around. Hogan did the Hogan thing that summer, bailing on the company, and They knew the charges were going to be coming their way when it came to the whole steroid distribution thing. And well, that didn't officially come until the week of Survivor Series, but they knew there was some humidity in the air, so to speak.
Well, yeah, because
so it wasn't a good time for the World Wrestling Federation.
No, because you could even see Luger came in looking a certain way because he joined the WBF to get get around his whole contract dispute with WCW or NWA, whatever it was, and then he ends up losing. It looks like he lost like 60 pounds over that time frame before they got hit with all those charges and stuff. So
he didn't wrestle for almost a year.
I know, because it was he debuted WrestleMania 8, didn't he?
No. His face did, yeah. But his WBF, first match wouldn't have been until, I'm going to say, February of 93. And I think he finished up, if I remember, at Super Brawl 92. So that's just about a full calendar year that he didn't have a wrestling match. So, I mean, maybe that's why he was a little stale. But I never really thought much of him either way. But he was really stale at that point. I thought Narcissus was atrocious. He needed Bobby Heenan in the worst of ways, but Bobby didn't want to manage.
Yeah, I don't blame him at that point. But, Luger's the type of guy where, he looks impressive.
Oh, you got to be shitting me.
What?
As I continue to look out the window, and I hate to say this because he's a relatively nice guy, but the man we call the French douchebag has arrived to the studio, and his arms are 86 inches long to the point they go down past his knees, and Marty has written about it on Facebook. Continue. Oh, anyway, what a day this is shaping up to be.
It's for me, it's great because you're making me laugh. So,
well, good. I'm glad someone's laughing.
I'm sure the fans are going to be laughing too, so... We're laughing at your expense, but it's all good.
That's the story of my life.
Yeah. But no, what I was getting to was Luger looked good. He looked the part, but he just, unless he was in there with somebody like a Ric Flair or somebody that like a Bret Hart that could carry him, he wasn't going to be able to carry a match. So I guess maybe that's what they ultimately came down to. Whereas you got to have, if you put the belt on somebody, they got to be able to go out there and perform. And he just wasn't that guy.
Well, even coming out of WrestleMania 10, when they put the title on Bret, they thought maybe they'd try and heat him up by having a good series of matches with the returning Mr. Perfect. And then Mr. Perfect had one of his, 45th falling outs, and it wound up being a summer of Luger and Crush matches, which really weren't all that inspiring. Yeah,
but, hey, Luger made a lot of money, and he got a lot more famous than I ever did. So, Godspeed to him. What else happened on the 4th of July? Let's see here. Oh, it's the unfortunate accident of Joey Marella happened on the 4th of July. I didn't know that.
Yep. 94, I believe.
That's was Gorilla Monsoon's adopted son.
Yeah, you want to know a fun fact?
I would love fun fact.
One of our uniquely challenged interns from down here at the studio is actually third or fourth cousins with the Morellas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe you'll get to meet him on Saturday night, November the 13th at Back to the 80s WrestleFest, Memorial Hall, Melrose, Massachusetts. It's going to be a night you're never going to forget as we celebrate 20 years of Boston wrestling in the MWF, and it'll be nice to have you back in tow, and you'll get to meet this relative of the Morellas.
Well, I'm sure I will be happy to meet whoever it is amongst the thousands, or we hope thousands of fans that are going to be there.
Well, they're going to need to set up a balcony if that's the case. It only holds about 800, but you know what?
Hey, we'll
maybe
if
the fire marshal is good to us, maybe we can sneak a few in standing room.
Standing room only.
Standing room only, baby.
Packed to the rafters. It was sold out in minutes. It's going to be a great time.
Well, I will say this with all sincerity and honesty in the now nearly 20 years of what we do. This was the biggest advance we had ever had, and we still had 5 weeks to go. And you being someone that understands our industry, the last several weeks is usually when the advance tickets pick up. So I was giddy with excitement, and then coronavirus came.
Yeah, coronavirus threw a big wrench into the entire world. But, things are starting to open back up. We're getting back out there. We're going to have fans. Touring is going to start again. Things are looking up in the world of
I'm hoping
everywhere.
We look up and we see 800 people. And the reason I'm looking up is because I fainted that we actually drew a good crowd in that venue. And, you guys are trying to put salt under my nose to try and wake me up and revive me. I'm so excited.
Well, hey, listen, I don't think tickets have gone on sale yet, but I think you're going to have a good pre-sale. The fans are excited to get back out into it, and I think it's going to be the perfect time for them to come out and enjoy a little bit of Boston's finest.
I think they're just excited to get out and enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's crazy, though. Like, I think, not to get off topic of the world of sports, but in professional wrestling, but I just hope that we're not opening up too quick, too soon, because it's crazy to see how many people are out there not wearing masks, because I know that probably a good bunch of them aren't vaccinated yet. So I don't want to get off into a tangent on all that stuff, but I hope we can get back to normalcy, whatever that was for everybody, very, very quickly, very, very soon, and get out and start doing our stuff again.
I am glad that people still have to wear them on airplanes. I think they should have been required on airplanes before coronavirus, and I don't think they should ever be allowed to take them off again. When someone sneezes on an airplane or coughs, I literally want to go O.J. Simpson on them. It is disgusting to me that they can't sneeze down their shirt or in their arm, or that they just have to let it fly.
Yeah.
So you know what? Wear the masks on the airplane. I don't want to get sick. I have not had a cold since March of 2003, and I want to keep it that way.
You got a good run going.
I do. I want to at least try and hit 20 years. But we'll see. We'll see. Every other part of my body doesn't work, but at least I can say I haven't had the sniffles since March of 03.
Wow. Well, hey, better you than anybody else, but hey, I don't know. I get the sniffles every now and again, but I get my flu shot. I drink my milk. I take my vitamins, and I say my prayers. So.
Well, most tigers have a wet nose. So in the winter, I imagine that's a problem in New Jersey.
Oh, Christ. Here we go. Here we go. Can we get back to wrestling,
All right,
please?
Go ahead.
Anyway, I don't know what else really significant happened on the 4th of July many, many years ago, but as I scroll through my feed a little bit and listen to my daughter yell at me through the door.
That's what the cleaning women sounded like when I showed up. But
yeah, it's crazy over here at Casa de Mulligan. But
you know what? As you look, I'm getting the cue from the broadcast booth. We'll take a brief timeout. We'll be back with more Wrestling Insider, stern but fair after this brief timeout. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the momentum here in Boston wrestling continues as we continue to build and build and build. The fans want to know, how do we help? We subscribe to the Patreon, but we see all the great merchandise on that set. Coronavirus may have killed the nightlife, especially for someone like Marty, but our acclaimed eBay store is open 24/7 around the world.
Wow. Check it out.
Arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. Get this limited edition collector's autograph print, personally signed by two-time WWE Hall of Famer Nature Boy Ric Flair, inscribed 16 times for each of his recognized World Championship reigns. One of only 50 made direct from our friends at WWE. Also signed by original artist Rob Schamberger. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome Ric Flair collectible for your wrestling collection now. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
WWE is coming home to Kansas City with Monday Night Raw. WWE is back with Monday Night Raw in Kansas City, Monday, July 26th. Tickets on sale now.
Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889. All right, wrestling fans, I see that Red Rose, baby. Let me tell you, I'm craving some Chinese food, even though it is America's birthday on the 4th of July. I can't get enough. And as during the time out, I sat here in this, I told you I had to make this makeshift podcast area because these cleaning women decided to show up a day early on the holiday itself so they could take the day after the holiday off, which still makes no sense to me. And I'll call the man the professor. He is the individual here that teaches at Harvard outside of his studio work. And he's very frugal, even though it's not his money. And the furniture in this room, I'm trying to figure out why I'm so uncomfortable, even though I brought a pillow with me. I'm sitting in this wooden chair that has no cushion on the back, no cushion on the ass. My ass literally feels like, I could probably compare it to the pancake that John Candy made his Uncle Buck in the movie that came out in the late 80s. It's probably so big, giant, and flat right now, sitting on this wooden chair that the professor made. So, Professor, if you're listening, your 1999 special from IKEA is doing wonders for my back. But anyway, back to the world of professional wrestling.
Holy moly, you're crazy today. You're all over the place.
You know what? When you drag me out of bed on the holidays, you never know what you're going to get, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. So I think it's enough of the 4th of July stuff. Let's move into the what happened this past week in the world of professional wrestling. Not too much really went on. How did you feel about some of the shows? I got to say, I watched AEW. I did like AEW this week. Raw, I can always do without Raw. And SmackDown, I was about 50-50 on SmackDown.
Half and half, as Sheiky Baby would say.
Yeah, 50-50.
I'm trying to think if there was anything spectacular, good, bad, or otherwise this week. Not especially. I have to say, I like the setup that AEW has used at Daly's Place since they allowed the fans back in again. I like the fact that they have, or I should say allowed fans back into full capacity, that they have the fans on the stage. I think that makes for a much better look than NXT, to say the least, even though NXT now has a little, I guess, a bleacher section for about 250 to 300 of their closest friends and family down at the Capitol Wrestling Center in Orlando, Florida. I like Samoa Joe's new role. I mean, I don't know if we're picking the shows apart one by one, but I mean, I like what Joe is doing. I think you don't have to overutilize Regal trying to pull apart, 4 or 5 brawls a week. Now Joe can be overexposed pulling apart 4 or 5 brawls a week.
I was just going to ask, you think that he's going to get a little bit too overexposed? He's going to be out there way too much. And I mean, I know that he's looking to do an in-ring return, but I just don't know how all that's going to pan out. I don't know. I didn't watch much of NXT. I watched bits and pieces of it. I'm not a fan of NXT's production. Like you were saying, with AEW, I like what they did. But NXT, it's time to either move them into a different venue or do a different setup. I don't know. It just, to me, is starting to look a little stale.
Well, it was an excellent episode to me because Beth Phoenix wasn't doing commentary to drag down the quality work of the men and women on that show with her oohs and ahs.
How come she wasn't on? Do you know?
Probably just taking a vacation.
Oh, Jesus.
I wish it would be a permanent vacation, but it took me a minute to be honest, several minutes to realize that her voice wasn't on it, and it was because if you notice, she usually only comes on in sound bites anyway, which I imagine.
Right.
She has a sheet of paper that says, "Okay, Beth, say this at this point," or they're saying into her ear, "Okay, Beth, read this line now," because she's not well versed in it, and she just screams sentences that no human being would ever say in a real life conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I am contradicting myself a bit because back when we first started the podcast, I did say that I thought that she can bring something to the table, but week in and week out, it's just not working. It's not working at all.
It's not. She's got her Grand Wizard Ernie Roth jackets that she wears to the table to add a little color to them, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, I think there's other ways we can add some color to the.
I don't think she's going to gig, but
no, maybe a little hard way. Christ,
and she's a very nice lady. It's nothing against the human being. But
right.
whoever's idea it was to put this woman out there for this it was a recipe for disaster. I don't know if it was part of the Edge friends and family package when he came back for his $3 million a year. We'll let your wife do the commentary on NXT because it happened right around the same time frame when he agreed to come back. But it's atrocious. It doesn't help. It hurts the product. I think Vic Joseph does all right for someone that's so young. I think Wade Barrett does a very admirable job in trying to get the talents over. I know Mauro Ranallo was someone that a lot of the fans love, but he drove me insane because he screamed about everything. And if you scream about everything, how do you make something important that you should scream about seem important if you screamed about in a clothesline in an enhancement match? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I did like Mauro, but to your point, he did kind of oversell a lot of stuff and way too much. But I think that's just kind of his style because I know he does it. He does a lot of that through the MMA role that he has too. Wade Barrett, I love. I think he's really good. I think I prefer to see him in the ring, but if his in-ring career is over, I think that what they have him doing now is really good. And again, Vic Joseph, he's up and coming. We'll see where he ends up landing. Down the road.
I think Wade Barrett is the best color commentator in WWE across the three brands. I like him more than Pat McAfee on SmackDown.
Oh, he's terrible. He's terrible. What the hell was he doing the other day? Holy
I think
Christ.
he has more credibility to me than Corey Graves does on Raw.
I agree with that point. I don't think Corey does bad.
No, no. That's not a knock to say that I don't like Corey Graves. I just think of the three, I think Barrett is the best of them.
Yeah, Pat McAfee I could do without. I don't know why they decided to bring him in. It's more of a scramble move than anything, I think. Corey,
he's got a very popular podcast. Why wouldn't you? Oh,
I mean, come on, Jesus Christ! If that's how they're going to try to pop ratings, then Jesus, they could think of something else to do. But anyway, moving on from that, I have been noticing, and I did get a chuckle out of the Elite on AEW with their mustaches and beards.
Oh,
I thought it was quite funny. They did look quite ridiculous, but it was, hey, to me, I thought it was a funny, whether were they ribbing themselves or they're trying to rib others, I don't know. But it seems like Kenny Omega's getting some backlash and saying that, he stole Triple H's look and this and that. Let me tell you something, folks. There's nothing in this world of professional wrestling that's original. Everything is stolen, and that's just the way that it is. And if you're going to steal from somebody, why not steal from somebody like Triple H? The guy's done amazing in his career. He's been a top guy. So if you're going to steal from somebody, why not steal from him? But I think personally, he wasn't trying to rip off Triple H. I think he was trying to go more of a Harley Race look than anything.
I was going to say, maybe he came across an Apter magazine from '76 and said, you know what, this is the look for me.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Triple H did it at one point, and he was ripping it from Harley. So maybe
paying homage to Harley, not ripping it.
Hey, listen, if you're paying homage, if you're blatantly stealing it, who cares? Again, nothing's original. But why does everybody have to just jump on something like that? It's a goddamn beard, for Christ's sakes. Like, can we talk about something else?
In this day and age, you could even make the argument with this show and all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows that we do where we talk current events. Everything is pulled apart and critiqued and criticized and Monday morning quarterbacked and so on and so forth, for better or for worse. But, to me, that's not the kind of comedy I'm interested in. I think Kenny Omega's great. We had him here in Boston Wrestling in the MWF. He drove all the way down from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada with Danny Duggan, who's the last of the Mohegans who actually runs wrestling tours that go for 30 or 40 shots in a row under normal times. Yeah, CWE up in Canada. I guess you've never seen the graphics scrolling during your own show, but that's all right. But two great guys. I'm not big on humor. Humor should be left for those that don't have talent. And I think it's very obvious that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks have a lot of talent inside of them. The problem with the Young Bucks is it's almost like watching a movie and fast forward. And with Omega, I think he makes himself out to be too silly. Where he has so much talent, I think he should be presented in a more serious manner. I
think he's better doing babyface work as opposed to heel work. I don't think he knows. Okay. I don't think he knows how to be a true heel. I wouldn't say maybe my words are wrong there. I think he does know how to be a heel. I think that he's just trying way too hard right now to get over as a heel, and it comes off hokey. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But again, his in-ring can kind of speak for itself. He's one of the top in the world, arguably, best in-ring performer right now. So I don't know. I think it was a subtle thing. I don't think I agree with you where there's got to be certain areas and certain spots for comedy. I don't think comedy really can sell your entire show. It's just got to be put in there, sparingly. But for something like that, hey, I got a chuckle out of it. I enjoyed it. It was kind of like it's not like a Santino coming to the ring and you have to have a whole segment of comedy. It was more just spoken about as they come out and then kind of forgotten. So I can deal with that. I can't. To be, that's awesome. I hate Tom. Awesome. I don't mind serious characters doing a funny thing, but I don't like to see people that should be presented as money players as hokey figures, because that's what's hurt the business over the past 20 years, where instead of being wrestlers, they're presented as sports entertainers, where everybody, or almost everybody, does the comedy, goofy, hokey shit, and that's why no one's over and no one can sell any tickets anymore. So how did you feel back when, say, like Steve Austin and Kurt Angle were doing their comedy bits? I look at that as part of the reason why I'm not there anymore. It was awful. It was terrible. It was pathetic. And let me tell you, there were a lot of people behind the scenes that hated it and thought it was terrible and pathetic, because I was involved in meetings with some of the highest people, the highest ranking officials in that company in the summer of 2001 as that nonsense was going on with milk and cowboy hats and cookies and badges. Oh, my God. It was brutal. Brutal. But just WWE has not recovered. Let me just finish this and then you can say whatever you want, buddy. WWE has not recovered from the final bell ringing at WrestleMania 17, 20 plus years ago. Go ahead. I agree with that point, but they were both injured. They had nothing else to do. They had to get them on TV. And yet, who was injured? Austin and Angle were injured at that point in time. They were wrestling every week. What are you talking about? No. Trust me. They were in the summer of 2001? Yes, they were both hurt, which is why they were kind of doing that hokey stuff. And it's still talked about to this day. So to me, it got over. Whether you liked it or not, it got over. But at the same point... Well, you know what? We mentioned O.J. Simpson earlier. He cut off his ex-wife's head and the guy she was with, too. And people talk about that, too. It was never proven. Come on now. Well, okay. Well, someone cut their heads off and it's still talked about. It's not necessarily a good thing. Yeah, I mean... No, and I'm not trying to sound egotistical, but as someone that was around, I don't remember either one of them being injured at that point. They were on all the house shows. I would have to go back because I'm pretty sure Austin, that was the time when Austin did something to his back after getting slammed through a table. He had a huge problem. Oh, you know what? By Booker. Maybe it wasn't through Booker T. No, it was. He did. Yeah. Booker T screwed up that spot at King of the Ring 01, which was the end of June 2001. Right. So I was thinking a couple of months earlier than that.
But
Yes.
Austin really was never in great shape, ever since
true.
he came back in '97 from the Owen Hart incident. But that Booker T spot did not help things whatsoever. And for those, as someone, again, that was there at that time observing things, it gave a lot of people reason to push or want to push WCW out of existence altogether with just that one night, that one spot in the pay-per-view main event. And probably the only pay-per-view that WWE never cared about. I mean, was that the night they did the triple threat? Yes, it was, because there was an issue. Yes, it was Undertaker. No, it was Austin against Jericho and the man whose name never comes up anymore, Mr. Benoit, in a triple threat. And they just kind of realized that nobody cared, and they just kind of gave up on it. They had done Undertaker and Austin to death, and I wasn't in the locker room, but there was an incident in the locker room that I was told about the night it happened at a Raw taping, where I guess I don't think it was meant to be embarrassing, but probably just he was busy and he just needed to get it done with quick. Vince kind of embarrassed Undertaker in front of others in the locker room and told him he was losing the King of the Ring spot against Undertaker and they were going in a different direction. And he was kind of left to look like, okay, well, that was kind of a fuck you. And so there's a little historical fact for those that wanted an inside tidbit from the spring and summer of 2001.
But you know what's crazy? And I know that we've touched on this in our few past episodes that everybody can go back and look at in the archives. But these guys are working. Steve Austin, coming off of broken necks and his knees and broken backs and all this crap, and yet was still out there every week, whether it be wrestling or doing something. Why is it these guys nowadays need so much time off for, hangnails and sprained ankles and things like that? And then even they've been working once a week and they're asking they're asking for time off.
I need time off.
I need 2 weeks off to go on vacation and things like that. When did everybody get to the point where the show must go on? You got to go out and figure it out. What happened to that? I don't know.
I think as someone that's not there on a regular basis, they're trying to be proactive about it. They don't want people to get to the point where the top guys of yesteryear did, that wind up all banged up or wind up crippled or wind up having to retire prematurely, and that they can have longer, healthier careers. That's my opinion. That's a guess. I do not know that to be fact. But no, you are right. They do seem to have much more liberty to have time off than others do. I mean, Edge had vanished for a good, what did he have, 3 or 4 months off? And Sasha Banks lost another title, and she needed a few months off. And
she still hasn't come back yet,
still hasn't come out of that box yet that he fell into at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
whatever that was supposed to be.
And who knows? And I don't know if Bray Wyatt asked for time off or they just didn't know what to do with him after they squashed him in that match. But even somebody like Edge, he doesn't need to be on TV every week.
No,
I get it.
But
look how they use Roman. Roman doesn't work on he worked what? In the past X amount of months, he's worked X amount, 1-2 matches on SmackDown. One of them being a cell match that shouldn't have been on SmackDown to begin with. But it's there's ways to do it, and if they had people booking the crap properly, there's ways to use people sparingly. It's a TV show; they don't need to work every week. They don't need to have these 5-star matches every week. They should be having enhancement matches with maybe one main event match, and then doing promos. It's so lost. I don't want to go off into a tangent, but the model right now is not working. And they need to do something different.
I think they'd see a quicker turnaround if they invested in the product more in just a couple of ways. I would not have any talent on TV more than 2 or 3 times a month, and I would not have any talent on TV wrestling more than once or twice a month. I would not continue to put on repetitive matches unless it was the middle of a rivalry, which means you'd have to expand the roster. Again, you look over the past 2 years, there's probably been 60 or so talents that have been released that they could cherry pick from and bring back. That would certainly freshen up the rosters again to give people fresh matches, so you don't have Reginald and Nia Jax on 2 or 3 segments a week on Raw and continue to see these record low numbers. I mean, those are just a couple of the big things that, to me, would really help quick. I think if he had a fresher show with more variety, with more unique matches, where you weren't guaranteed to see the same people wrestle each and every week, where you weren't even guaranteed to see them on TV each and every week, it would give people subconsciously that reason, well, geez, I better tune in to see what's going to happen this week. When was the last time you said to yourself, geez, I wonder what's going to happen this week? I wonder, other than WrestleMania season, so to speak, because that's usually known for the month or two when you may get a surprise here and there. You very rarely get a surprise like that nowadays. So I think if they went with the model that I just described, and I'm sure they have people that could fine-tune that idea much better than I could, unless they wanted to bring me back, that would be the way I'd go. And I think that you'd slowly start to, again, would it be instantaneously? No. And that's the problem with wrestling overall nowadays. The 2 Ps, I call it. Patience and pacing. No one has any of it anymore. They have no patience. They want instant rating success, and they don't have the properly pace it. They just throw everything out there they can possibly throw out.
Yeah, I agree. They're trying to do WrestleMania-esque type style weekly TV, and it's just not working because it's repetitive. It's the same stuff over and over. You could watch one show, and then 6-8 weeks later, you turn it on again, and you're watching the same show. What's the point of watching it?
If you watch NXT or AEW, it's almost like they're trying to recreate WrestleMania matches. Every kick out is 2 7/8 in the middle of a match. Multiple finishes being used. I mean, save that for the big events, so those spots are more memorable, as opposed to just doing it in every TV match every week.
Yeah, I'm hoping and praying that when they get back out on the road and they can, do their TV style matches and then maybe have a dark match, for the live crowd, that they can kind of get back to a different style model and a TV model, and we'll see where it goes. And I guess only time will tell, but I don't know. I just think they're going down. I think they've gotten in so deep now with this garbage TV that they're just, I don't know. I don't see them coming out of it anytime soon.
Well, I have a lot of ideas for everybody. I'm very easy to be found if you want to reach out to us at bw@bostonwrestling.com. I'd be happy to share my ideas. But anyway, no pun intended, as we begin to wind down this week's episode, I wanted your thoughts on WWE beginning to cast its big bet. Oh, wait a minute. Speaking of run-ins, big WWE casting its big bad shadow over AEW in some of their live events. I guess in Pittsburgh, they're running rather close to each other time-wise, which wasn't done purposely, but the instances in Boston and New York City where maybe it was a little bit more intentional.
Well, you know what? I think that Vince will never, ever concede anything, and he'll always want to be the first one to do it. I think AEW is starting to beat him to the punch on certain things, bringing fans back, having better kind of high-stake matches on free TV, things like that. But I think it was done purposely because there was a void. They started announcing dates, and they weren't coming anywhere near the East Coast. So there was definitely a void there. And, maybe that was just an overlook on their site, on their whatever, on their behalf. And then somebody finally caught it and said, oh, shit. We need to do something. We're not coming back to the East Coast. Let's be the first ones. And then I know AEW is coming to Newark. They're going to be at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York. So they said, hey, let's try to beat them out. And they're going to Boston. Well, I don't know if that might be a tentative date. I don't know if it's for sure.
No, the Boston the Raw is on the 13th. And I'm going to it'll be the first event in that building I have ever missed because I'm going to be at the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion in Las Vegas. But I found that date, cough, cough. Yeah. Ironic because AEW was in town 5 days before, but that date has now been moved to the Wednesday before Halloween, which I believe is Wednesday, October the 27th. For fans in the Boston area that wanted to attend AEW live, it is no longer on September 8th. And that's probably the best for the fans. Let them, separate the two dates a little bit. Trying to go to two shows within 5 days of each other is a lot. And, for promotional purposes, I hope October 27th isn't too soon to Saturday night, November the 13th, when we invade Memorial Hall, downtown Melrose, Massachusetts, for our 20th anniversary Back to the 80s Retro WrestleFest reunion.
It's going to be a good time.
I just really don't want the shows to be too close to each other, is my point. A little nervous. No,
you know what? You know what it is? I don't think you need to worry about that. because there's always going to be wrestling shows, and I just think that you got to we're going to be there for the variety. We're going to have no problem. I think it's going to be more up close and personal if you come out to an MWF show than if you go to an AEW or a WWE show. I don't think you got anything to worry about in that aspect of things.
Well, I worry about everything, but you could be right.
You
could be right about that part of what you just said. But anything else cooking in the world of wrestling before we get this bad boy simmering on the barbecue for 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight?
Just one thing. I have a couple notes, but we can bottle those up for another day.
All right.
But you know what? Everybody has been getting on the bandwagon of bashing JR because he made some kind of mistake on commentary. I didn't catch it when I watched AEW, but I certainly
see you next week on WWE Dynamite.
Yeah, you know what? Who cares?
Whoops.
Like the guy's
okay.
Whoops. Yeah, it's a mistake. I mean, God, how many mistakes does Michael Cole make on an everyday basis that he's on commentary? We're human people. We make mistakes. The guy worked for WWE for how many years? Things happen. Let's just get off our soapboxes and give the guy a break. He's in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of other people's opinion, he's the best, commentator there ever was. Next to my other favorite would be Gorilla Monsoon and the Bobby Heenan, and then Gordon Soley. But give the guy a break. He's been around long enough. If he makes a mistake, just like anybody else does, I don't think we need to bash him for it. Everybody can go get off their soapboxes and move on.
It was a slip of the tongue. I can't see. It's not like he's a man reading off of a script. You know what I mean? It's not like it was a pre-read promo. It was in the heat of the battle as the show was going off the air. I can't imagine that AEW was I'm sure they weren't thrilled with it, but I can't imagine they were up in arms over it. It was if it wasn't for the internet, it would probably have been forgotten about within minutes.
And what's even funnier is if it happened on WWE TV, whoever said it would have probably been gone the next day.
Well,
that's the funny part.
Two different companies.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm just. It wasn't any kind of point that I'm trying to make. Is that it's a mistake. Mistakes happen. It's live TV. It's not supposed to be scripted. It's just supposed to be fun. Give the guy a break. Let him live his life, and we can move on from it.
Well, we'll have to count how many times Joe Buck slips up on a Fox NFL broadcast this fall.
Right. Yeah. Well,
I guess it doesn't happen anywhere or anywhere else other than Jim Ross on AEW wrestling shows.
Yeah. But no, that's all I got this week. I just want everybody to start following us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you listen to us. Give us that 5-star review. Rate us, subscribe, so that way we can keep bringing you these free of charge every week.
Yes, that's the way we like to do it. Tiger is turning into Mr. Audio for us. He's going to be doing not only Stern but Fair, but I've heard rumors, some of the other great weekly shows that we have, podcast style for you to enjoy. It is something that I just physically don't have the man hours to do, or I'm already here 9 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. I hope you folks enjoy your holiday. I will be hard at work producing content for you to enjoy as part of it. For my partner in crime, Mr. Mulligan, I am Dan Marati. We will be back 1 week from right now for another episode of Wrestling Insiders, Stern but Fair. Again, don't forget, the WrestleHouse 2 Indiegogo is up and running. Go down to the description box to click on that link. We'll see you in Tampa. Good night. The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Los Angeles Sports Arena in Los Angeles, California, Thursday, July the 4th, 1985. In the opening contest, Davey Boy Smith beat Rene Goulet. Rick McGraw with the win over Steve Lombardi. Polish Power Ivan Putski, replacing Superfly Jimmy Snuka, defeated Cowboy Bob Orton via disqualification. Adrian Adonis victorious over Jack Armstrong. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff battled Rowdy Roddy Piper to a draw. Les Thornton beat Gama Singh. WWF Intercontinental Champion Greg the Hammer Valentine and Jesse the Body Ventura with the win over the Junkyard Dog and George Wells. The Dynamite Kid defeated Alexis Smirnoff via countout, and in the main event, the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion Hulk Hogan retained the title over Brutus Beefcake. If you were in Los Angeles live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times